Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum, and we're going to be looking at the Ethereum valuation against Bitcoin and against USD. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So Ethereum has now bled back down to the lower trend line that we have down here, right? So 1, 2, 3, and now 4 and 5. So we've been down here. This is the fifth time we've been here this year. And this uptrend represents the fundamental momentum shift of the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio that we saw start at the beginning of 2020. Up until that point, it was mostly just a macro downtrend for the last 2 years or so before that. So moving into 2020, we identified this momentum shift in the valuation of Ethereum against Bitcoin. And now we're sitting essentially at a crossroads, right? We're at a crossroads. What is Ethereum going to do? We are getting into crunch time. We know that the major moves historically of Ether against Bitcoin tend to happen either mid-December to early January or mid-January, somewhere in that ballpark. We always have the Q4 bleed, followed by a massive move either starting mid-December or starting sometime by mid-January. And each of these moves have been very, very significant, right? 1,600%, 600%, 400%. This one wasn't quite as much, 70% or so. Here we had another one. We talked about this last year, 60%. And now, here we are. Here we are for the sixth time in history. Bitcoin has led the surge in Q4, or sometimes maybe it just didn't, it bled less than Ethereum. But Ethereum has now bled back down throughout Q4, and we say to ourselves, what have we said all along, right? We said all along is, there's no sense in trying to time the bottom because the bottom could come before December, right? The local bottom could theoretically come before December. And that's what we've been saying for months. And there's a chance that it did, right? There's a chance that the local bottom was back over here in mid-November at a valuation of 0.026. Perhaps that was the local bottom. And if it was, does it detract from December being a good time to buy Ether with Bitcoin? Does it detract from it? I don't think so. Just because this was the local bottom does not mean that this would theoretically not be a good buy. This is not financial advice. We're just looking at macro trends in the market and trying to identify, we know, historically speaking, if you go back all 5 years of historical data for Ether against Bitcoin, buying Ether with Bitcoin in December has always been a good short-term investment in terms of no more than a 90-day ROI. Now, will it play out for the 6th year in a row? I cannot tell you, right? It's a risk you either can take or you can choose not to take. But all I can tell you is that the last 5 years, buying Ethereum with Bitcoin during a bleed like this has always resulted in a good ROI. Now, in the short term, I don't know where we could go. I mean, we could drop all the way back down to 0.028. We could drop down even further. But I will say that I just want to reiterate, because we reiterated this several times last year, around this time in mid-December. And I just want to make sure that, we've made the message loud and clear. And that message being simply none other than the data of Ether Bitcoin suggests that following a Q4 bleed of Ether Bitcoin, there tends to come a pump starting in mid-December through mid-January. We're in mid-December now, so I would say be ready, right? It could start anytime. It could start tomorrow. It could start a week from now. It could start early January, maybe January 10th. I don't know. But as long as the market conditions stay like this, as long as Bitcoin volatility remains this high, I would expect it to continue to bleed in the short term, right? I would expect it to bleed in the short term as long as Bitcoin volatility stays this high. Whenever Bitcoin decides to chill out for a little bit, I think it'll be time. It'll be time for Ether. You know, if we go over to the RSI, which we don't really look at a whole lot on this channel, but if you look at the RSI, the weekly RSI of Ether against Bitcoin, and you look to see where we currently are, and then we look to see where we were in prior Decembers. So in December here, we were around an RSI of around 48. Okay, so this is the first one. Okay, in this December, we were much lower. We reached all the way down to around 33. Okay, in the next December, we were around 37 before a major move. The following one, we reached all the way down to 33 again, or around this level. So this one was around 33. This wasn't actually less than 33. It was around 27. And then the following year, we bottomed at around 30, 35, 36 or so. And so now we're looking, well, where are we going to bottom this year? And is it going to be here, like it was back in December of 2015? Or do we have more room to drop? You know, how much, do we have more room to drop? And if we do, how much further could we go? Well, the theoretical bottom that we've seen in the past has been around 27. And currently we are at 48. So we're not even close to where the bottom could theoretically be. I don't really tend to think, again, I don't fully know what it will do. I don't tend to think that we're going to go back down to this level. But I mean, it depends on Bitcoin. I mean, if Bitcoin makes a run over the next couple weeks to like 25, 30K, it's certainly likely that Ethereum is going to continue to bleed against Bitcoin. But I just want people to recognize that where we currently are, it has been the turnaround point before. But we could also stand to go even a little bit lower and still have time for a major turnaround sometime over the next like 4 weeks or so. And if you switch this to the daily RSI, you see something even slightly different. So we'll just look at the daily RSI and look to see where we were in each December. So in this one, we reached a daily of 31 here in December of 2015. In December of 2016, we came as low as around 20. In December of 2017, before the major move against Bitcoin, we came down to as low as approximately 25. In December of 2018, we came down to approximately 24. So note that every single one of these is oversold, right? Every single one of them has reached oversold territory. Maybe you could argue that 2015 didn't, because technically a lot of people will go by it has to be less than 30 if it's oversold. If it's above 70, it's overbought. So here's December 2018, and then December of 2019, we also reached down to this level of around 20. So we can see we had 30, 21, 24, 24, 21. We're currently at 41. Okay, so again, we're not saying that it has to go down here. You could argue that maybe we already came down here not that long ago. In fact, in November, we were in this range. And for instance, in this move over here in 2019, in November, we had not come back down to that level. So it's possible that we already had the local bottom, as we already suggested, could be the case, right? We already suggested that that could be the case back up over here. So I just want, and if you look here, this is where it bled all the way down to this point. So again, it's possible, it's certainly possible that the low already happened on the daily RSI, and that we're already kind of on our way to trending upward. But it's dropping relatively quickly. I mean, if you zoom in here, I mean, look at this drop. It was on December 13th, which was 3 days ago, it was 52. 3 days later, it's 41. Okay, So, if it continues at this rate, right, if it continues at that pace, it wouldn't even take that long to get back down here. I mean, we're talking about maybe another week to get back down to this historical undervaluation or oversold territory if we were to go down to that level. So I would say, again, I think the best act here in terms of Ethereum is just to be patient, right? And some of you might be wondering, like, what the hell I'm talking about. You're looking at Ethereum and you're going, like, what is he talking about, man? This guy's crazy. It's at 644, and he's acting like it's like falling off a cliff. Again, we're better than that, right? We're better than just looking at the USD valuation because, as I've said before, we're paying for a higher return with a higher risk, right? We're taking on more units of risk. We want a higher return, otherwise it just does not simply justify holding it. And I think I do continue to say I think we're going to turn around soon. I've been trying to prepare everyone for this for months now, since October of this year at least, maybe even in September. Last year we talked about it and prepared for it, and it yielded a 60% return against Bitcoin. So this year we're trying to prepare for it again, and we recognize that the risk you take to do it, right? There's no free lunch, there never is. But you have, not only do you have Bitcoin above the 20 week, you have Bitcoin above 20K, you have the Q4 bleed of Ether against Bitcoin. The market seems bullish. Bitcoin's now at 22.1. The catalyst is there. The only other thing, the one more thing, right, needs to happen. And you guys know what it is, right? Go ahead and say it, right? It's Bitcoin needs to chill out. Once we get that, the stars are aligned, and you could already argue they are aligned because, it seems likely that Bitcoin volatility will reduce at some point, and as long as it doesn't have like a weekly wick all the way back down like $10,000 or something, then it seems like Ethereum is there to go, right? It's ready to go. But until that happens, right, and until Bitcoin volatility calms down, we're going to see the Ether Bitcoin valuation bleed, and Ether USD will likely continue to be dragged up as long as Bitcoin keeps going up. But we're not here for that, right? We're not here for that. We're still patiently waiting to move. We know we've been talking about it for a long time, but we also recognize, as we've said many times before, the move, historically speaking, does not come until at least mid-December or as late as mid-January. So we're in the Goldilocks zone now. I would say between now and the next 4 to 5 weeks, sometime in that time frame, as long as Bitcoin doesn't kick the bucket, I think we're going to see Ether start to move. Not financial advice. I admit, we could be wrong, right? It's a possibility, but it's a calculated risk, and we'll see if it pays off. If you guys like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel. We also have the holiday sale for the premium list, so make sure you check it out before the prices go back up. You get access to the weekly reports, the weekly premium videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, and the trading view indicators. Next year, we're going to start doing live streams for the premium list, so make sure you guys check it out. I think it does provide a lot of value, and we mainly talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum. We also talk about Link and ADA and a few other coins. So check it out. Subscribe to the channel at the very least. We'll see what happens with Ether Bitcoin. Hopefully in the next few weeks, we can tune into a video and say, this is what we're waiting for. Right? This is what we waited for the last few months, and here it is. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.